Is that working now? Your voice is what makes you stand out as a speaker. And if you don't know how to use it, you aren't going to be able to stand out. But one of the mistakes that beginner speakers make is believing that in order to make your voice stand out, it's all about varying it to the extremes. Whereas actually, the magic lies in exploring the subtleties. In this video, you're going to learn how to explore those subtleties to make you, your voice, and your message stand out. I've always had one big problem with my voice. When you go back and look at my report cards from my earliest years of school, they all kind of say the same thing. David is very hardworking, he's doing fine in his subjects, he's very polite and well-mannered. However, sometimes David is a little bit loud and disruptive, and he needs to learn when to not to speak. So you could see the destiny on the report cards of where I was going to end up. And this unawareness of the volume of my voice and how much my voice carries is something I still have to work on to this day. The amount of times that we'll be in a restaurant or in a social setting and my wife has to jab me in the ribs and say, "Inside voice, David, inside voice, David." So working on the voice is something that I've been aware of from a very young age. But understanding that what your voice is able to do naturally is what lends that's your signature style as a speaker. That's where your personality stands out. So for me, I have always had that bit of a loud voice that carries. And that's something that I want to lean into as a speaker. It's something I have to learn to modulate elsewhere off stage. But knowing that I have this loud voice that's naturally quite deep and naturally carries a lot is something that I'm then going to use as the basis of my voice. Then what I'm wanting to do is learn how to adjust a couple of different dials so I can create that variation and do different things with my voice. And the same is true for you and your voice. You might say, "Oh, well, I naturally have quite a quiet, reserved voice, and I don't think that's really suitable to be a public speaker." Well, if you don't think a quiet, soft, measured voice is suitable, go and look at someone like the Dalai Lama. Do you think the Dalai Lama's soft, soothing voice has stopped him from being able to spread a message and stopped him from being able to connect with audiences? Of course not, right? So it's not about the starting point of your voice. It's not that some people's voices are better than others. It's learning how to modulate and control the different factors of your voice. And that's what we're going to cover in the rest of this video. The first starting point for voice is volume. And as I said, this is something that I've struggled a little bit with in my personal life. But I think something that gets often told to speakers is that in order to be an effective speaker, you need to be louder. Because you're going to be speaking to large rooms, that means your voice has to be a larger, higher volume. And that's not necessarily the case, because there's a real power in actually being able to drop the volume of your voice. And dropping the volume of your voice can be really effective at building tension in a key part of a story, for example. So when it comes to this first dial of volume, don't think that just turning up the volume is always necessarily going to be better. There is a lot of magic to be discovered in the ability to lower the volume as well. The second dial that you want to be turning is the speed of your voice. And again, something that we often hear is that slow, monotonous voice. And because that's something that we often hear and go, that type of voice is bad, it's unengaging, it's something that I don't want to listen to. Similar to volume, it's then said, well, the faster that you speak, the better that's going to be as well. And again, being able to speak faster is going to help in certain situations. So being able to speak quickly is something that can really add energy and emphasis into a speech. But also think about being able to lower the speed as well. A technique that I really like is by slowing the speed of sequential statements, you can make each of those statements sink in. So it might be something like, looking at this problem, think about what you can do and how that can make a difference. So instead of saying, looking at this problem, think about what you do and how you can make a difference, by slowing down the pace of each of those successive phases, that allows the audience to think and reflect, okay, well, what could I do? How does that apply to me? That slower speed can be really effective for creating that reflective introspection time in the audience, because there is no point delivering a speech to your audience and then they go away and do nothing with it. If they can't process what you've said to them, you might as well not have said it to them at all. I've got one more voice technique to share with you, but just before I do, let me tell you a little bit about my online course, Amplify, Spark Your Speeches. And Amplify is a great name in terms of thinking about using our voice, because the reason why I called it Amplify was because that's what I wanted to help people do with their voices. Amplifying your voice so that your message is heard by more people in the world. This is a 12-month online program. It's something that we ran initially as a live program, and then I took all the recordings of these live workshops and stuck it into a year-long course for you. So this means that you aren't having to worry about attending live schedules that are in an awkward time zone or don't fit into your schedule. You can work through this online course at your own time and your own pace. The material is there for you to go back and reflect. There's lots of extra learning resources to help you process the information. It's something you work through at your own time and pace. And we have a whole module in the online course that looks at how to use your voice, exploring more of these different techniques and approaches to how you create that variation in your voice and how you make your voice stand out. Now, to enroll in the online course, you've got two options. You can either pay upfront for the whole year, $297. You've got it, it's there, you've got it for life. Alternatively, you can pay in monthly installments. You pay 12 monthly installments of $29 a month. After your 12th installment, again, you've got all the material for life. What I like to do to give people an opportunity to come in, try the course, and see if it's going to be right for you and your speaking development going forward, is offer that first month for a $1 trial. So you can come in, see the first month of material, see if the structure, the format, the content of the course is going to be right and helpful for your speaking going forward. If it isn't, that's fine. End the trial there. It's only cost you $1 to find out. If it is great for you, fantastic. You can stay on for the rest of the course, and it's only cost you $1 to find out either way. So to activate your trial, I've put a link to the Amplify course in the video description below. If you follow that link, enter the code YouTube at checkout, that's where you came from, and that'll take your first month subscription from $29 a month down to $1 a month. And there you can find out all the tips and tricks that's going to help you to amplify your voice. Speaking of amplifying your voice, let's look at our final technique for how to amplify your voice on stage. A third aspect of voice is pitch. And pitch is something that's a little bit trickier to describe and recognize than volume and speed. Volume and speed are very clear to us. The way that I explain pitch to people is, if you've ever watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and you know the song when the dwarves are going off to mine, hi ho, it's off to work we go. Well, in that song, they are varying their pitch. They go, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, it's off to work we go. Now, they don't change the volume. They're not saying different bits louder or quieter. They don't change the speed. The speed is exactly the same. What they're changing is the pitch, that difference in the sound of the words, the tone of the words. And this is something you can bring in, and this is where the great subtlety of the voice can come in. Something that I notice a lot, again, in beginner or inexperienced speakers, is they'll be talking about something they're passionate about. They'll be talking about something they're excited about, and they're wanting to inject that passion, inject that excitement into the audience. But they don't sound like it. They say, yeah, so this is a project that I'm really excited to work on. And I think, are you? So where this pitch can really help is when you're speaking with that passion and excitement, that higher injection of pitch. Here's a project I'm really excited about. Do you see the difference in that? I don't have to scream, this is a project I'm really excited about. It's not about that intensity of volume or speaking really fast. Just that little change of pitch can add the emotion to what you're saying. So pitch is a lovely, subtle one to play with. It's a little bit trickier to recognize than some of the other voice variations. It's slightly trickier to execute and recognize that you're executing it. But when you're able to do it, that's where that real nuance can come in. And it's that word nuance that I really want you to take away from this video. That when you're thinking about, well, how are you going to use your voice on stage? It's not about going to the extremes of these dials. There's very few occasions when an extreme of this dial is going to be effective. It's all about the subtle changes in the settings of your voice. Just a little bit of a change from the default. That's what makes your voice stand out. And it's a whole lot harder to subtly edit your voice than to extremely edit your voice. Anyone can walk onto a stage and start screaming. That's not skillful. What's skillful is walking onto stage and knowing when to be that little bit quieter or that little bit louder, and that is what makes you stand out.